Hello friends, it's your boy iMaxDigital here, and in this video I'm going to compare the Google Pixel 4a with the Apple iPhone SE 2020. Let's take a look at the specs and how these compare, what's good, what's bad. Let's get into it. So real quick, the story of these phones are that the Google Pixel 4a is the cheapest Google Pixel phone being sold at $349. While the Apple iPhone SE is the cheapest iPhone being sold right now. They are both the budget versions of all the other phones being sold either by Google or by Apple. So for the networks on these phones, both of these do not offer 5G. It's one of the big things about these phones being budget. These are LTE only phones. But in my humble opinion, it doesn't matter for most apps that people are using. You won't see a big difference between LTE and 5G unless you care about super crazy 4K video or you're downloading tons and tons of data. And in most parts of the country, 5G isn't as good, or it's not as, the coverage isn't as good as well. So 4G LTE is perfectly okay for these budget devices. While being budget phones, these are also smaller phones as well. These are the smallest Pixel and the smallest iPhones being sold. The Pixel is about 5.6 inches tall. The iPhone SE is 5.5 inches tall. The width is 2.7 on the Pixel, 2.65 on the iPhone, and the thinness on the Pixel is 0.32. On the iPhone it's 0.29. So these are very similar sized devices. Apart from being the smaller sized devices, these are both lightweight devices. Pixel 4a weighs in 143 grams, which translates to 5.04 ounces, while the iPhone SE weighs 148 grams and weighs 5.22 ounces. So very lightweight phones, and these are super close in weight and size. For the build material, they differ a little bit. The Pixel has a glass front with a plastic back. iPhone SE has a glass front and a glass back with an aluminum frame. So build quality wise, the iPhone feels a little bit more premium, but the positive of the Pixel is that it has a plastic, so if you drop it, it won't crack like glass. In the SIM card department, these phones are very similar. Both of these support one physical nano SIM card slot, and also both of these phones offer an eSIM option. So basically you could have two phone numbers or two data plans at the same time. These are the very few phones that have eSIM technology, so that's pretty promising, and both of these are budget devices, so it's nice to see. Although both of these phones are similar in size overall, the screen size is way different. The Pixel 4a has a 5.81 inch screen, while the iPhone SE has a 4.7 inch screen. We have 83% screen to body ratio on the Pixel. We have 65% screen to body ratio on the iPhone. So the Pixel 4a by a long shot has way more screen, way bigger screen, as opposed to the old school small screen, big bezels on the iPhone SE. It makes the iPhone SE feel very old, but since it keeps that small form factor, it feels really good in the hand. But you also get a small size in the Pixel, but you can just get way more screen. The screen in the Pixel 4a is also an OLED display, while you get a Retina display in the iPhone SE. As for the pixel density and the resolution, you get 1080 by 2340 on the Pixel 4a. You get 750 by 1334 pixels on the iPhone. Pixel 4a PPI is 443. iPhone SE 326 PPI. For the software side of things, the Android 10 is on the Pixel 4a, a super stock version of Android 11 as it was upgraded. So that's another thing, you can get a couple of years of updates on the Pixel 4a, very stock. On the iPhone SE, you also get a very stock iOS software experience, and that is also going to get a few years of updates. So both of these devices are very good with software updates. A rarity that both of these phones are going to be updated yearly. So that's pretty cool being budget devices. Processor on the Pixel 4a is a Snapdragon 730G. And the iPhone is running its own Apple A13 Bionic. Both of these are very good processors, very good chipsets, and they should cover pretty much every app or game, handle movies, handle gaming, pretty much all of it would work perfectly fine for 99% of people. Next is the internal storage, very important in smartphones. The Pixel 4a comes in with a generous 128 gigs of storage, while the iPhone SE comes in at half that for the base model. It starts at 64 gigs of storage. You do not get expandable storage on either of these devices, even on the Pixel 4a, so whatever model that you pick up, that's the amount of storage you're gonna get stuck with. There's only one model of 128 gigs in the Google Pixel, which should be enough for everybody. The base model for the iPhone is 64, but you could also get 128 or 256, but it's going to cost you more money. So you got good value of internal storage on the Pixel 4a, and so you can shove your movies, your music, your pictures, your apps, your games, all that type of stuff. You should be very good on 128 gigs. Next is the camera setup. You get a single 12.2 megapixel camera on the Pixel 4a, and you get a 12 megapixel camera on the iPhone SE. Very rare now nowadays to only have one single camera on the back of a phone, but both of these, don't let these phones fool you. They both take very good video and very good pictures, especially for being budget devices. Both of these phones also shoot in 4K video, which is awesome, although I don't think a lot of people take advantage of 4K. As for the selfie cameras on these phones, you get an 8 megapixel shooter on the Pixel 4a. You get a 7 megapixel shooter on the iPhone SE, and they both take video at 1080p. So that's a pretty good resolution for the selfie cameras. One big difference that's gonna matter to a lot of people that have not embraced wireless technology like headphones is that the Pixel 4a has a headphone jack while the iPhone does not. So if you're still not in the Bluetooth camp with headphones and you still wanna physically connect headphones or a mic, or if you're in your car and you wanna connect your phone via aux cord, you could do that on the Pixel 4a. If you want to do it on the iPhone, it's going to be kind of hard, and you got to get dongles. It's kind of a mess on the iPhone, so you got to give it to the Pixel here. Both of these phones come equipped with NFC, but in a little bit of different ways, because the iPhone primarily uses NFC with Apple Pay, and the Pixel 4a uses it for payments as well, but also for other things. For the charging port, the Pixel has a USB Type-C, iPhone SE has Lightning. The USB Type-C is more flexible because you could interchangeably use it with laptops such as MacBooks, Chromebooks, Windows PCs, iPads, tablets, other phones, and other devices. Very, very handy type of cable and ports. While if you are an Apple person and you have other iOS devices, you're gonna be more keen to using the Lightning port. To unlock these devices, both the Pixel and the iPhone have fingerprint readers, except that the Pixel 4a, it's rear mounted, while the iPhone is a front mounted fingerprint reader on the bottom bezel. For the battery department, the Pixel 4a has a 3,140 milliamp battery. On the iPhone, it has a tiny 1,821 milliamp battery. In general, both of these phones' batteries are pretty small for what the rest of the modern smartphone world has. I think the iPhone handles battery pretty good, but you're not gonna last anywhere near a full day on the iPhone SE. You gotta charge it a couple of times during the day. And I'm afraid to say the same thing about the Pixel 4a. Although it's bigger, you're still not gonna get a full day of charging or a full day of battery out of it without charging. Luckily, both of these devices offer some fast charging available. Both are offered at 18 watts. And with about 30 minutes of charge, you get around 50% on the iPhone. It's probably similar to the Pixel. So yeah, battery is one issue that both of these phones have. So we went over the specs and compared a couple of things on both the Google Pixel 4a and the iPhone SE 2020 version. And I gotta say that these are some very, very similar devices. The Pixel 4a is a stock version of Android. It's made directly from the company that brings you Android. Same thing with the iPhone. You have a stock version of iOS that's made by Apple. It's very classic. There's no bloatware. Same thing with the Pixel 4a. There's no bloatware if you get these phones directly from the manufacturers. And they have same size. They have the same amount of cameras. They get updates, but there are a couple of things that are different that may make your decision a little bit easier if you have to choose. You know, there's a headphone jack on the Pixel 4a. There's more storage on the Pixel 4a. The iPhone gives you a more premium feel. The iPhone gives you some apps that are only available on iOS, like iMovie, iMessage, and FaceTime and AirDrop. Pricing is very similar as well on these devices. You get a bigger screen, a bigger real estate on the Pixel 4a. But other than that, if you are a budget-minded person with your phones and you don't do anything crazy with running a billion apps or high-end video editing or running a lot of graphic-intensive games, then both of these phones should suit your needs just fine. And that's pretty much it. Thanks guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.